What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome into Orange and Brown 365. This is episode 8 here on a cold and dreary looking Wednesday by the city, by the shores of Lake Erie, Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome in. This is Orange and Brown 365, episode 8. As I said, I am your host, Jeremy Somerville, the self-proclaimed Seatown sports guru. Today we are talking Cleveland Browns football. We are talking, as always, no matter what we do or where we're at, we always seem to talk this one thing, quarterbacks. We're also talking about should the Browns franchise Terrelle Pryor, as I spoke about yesterday if you listen to episode 7. And NFL free agency is coming up. Today is the first day you can franchise anyone. We'll see who gets franchised. A couple players I want to talk about most importantly. And we'll fit in some other stuff. You want to join into the show here live on Spreaker, you can do so by hitting me up on Twitter at SomervilleCLE. If you're on the Spreaker app, you can chat as well. If you're listening on orangeandbrown365.com, pretty cool. Thank you for doing that. And make sure you check that out if you haven't. orangeandbrown365.com. That is the website we are talking about. That is the website I do. It is all Browns football, Cleveland Browns. News, facts, opinion, 24/7, 365. Up there recently, I've put up some player profiles of 5. I've got 5 parts of a 10-part series on possible quarterbacks for the Cleveland Browns coming up here. So far, we've gotten Jimmy Garoppolo, Tyrod Taylor, Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, and Pat Mahomes up. Actually, no, I haven't got A.J. McCarron. Deshaun Watson's next. Got A.J. McCarron up there as well. Deshaun Watson is the next. Still coming up, we have Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Kaiser, Brad Kaya. Probably 2 more guys I'll squeeze in. I haven't decided if I'll do Davis Webb yet or if I will look into free agency. And that is where we're going to begin today with quarterbacks and free agency. With today being the first day that you can you can designate your franchise player in the NFL. One of the players, most importantly, I would want to talk about who could be franchised today is Washington Redskins quarterback Kirk Cousins. Now, Cousins has been a pretty dang good quarterback in the NFL over the past 2 years. Good enough that it totally has made Washington Redskins fans forget about what a draft bust Robert Griffin III ended up being when you traded 3 first-round picks to move up to the number 2 overall pick in the 2012 draft to grab him. Cousins, who seems to fit Jay Gruden's offense perfectly, would be an absolute perfect fit for a Hugh Jackson run offense. And he's shown what he can do in his playing time if given the starting job. He is shown to throw for 4,000 yards, to show minimal mistakes, and to put his team in a position to win. Kirk Cousins could absolutely be the type of player the Browns could use to move into the future. Now, is he a top 10 quarterback? Probably not. But your top 10 quarterbacks probably stop at Ben Roethlisberger. And Russell Wilson, Cam Newton maybe, Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, Tom Brady. I mean, guys like that, we're talking. Derek Carr, I'd probably put in the top 10 now. He is probably just outside that top 10 the way he can carry a team, where he's not going to always be able to carry a team just based on his skill set. It's going to take a full team effort. It's not going to be Tom Brady who can lead anybody you put out there with him and make them look like a all-pro. But he's a very good quarterback and will be better than anything the Cleveland Browns have had here since probably, I don't remember Vinny Testaverde's best season with us, but probably back to when Bernie Kosar was in his prime. And the numbers, of course, since it was a different time, were not that great, but he would be the best quarterback since Bernie Kosar. So if he is not franchised, if they decide to transition tag him or something like that, I could totally see the Browns looking at that. Maybe possibly putting something in the as far as an offer to see what it would take to get Kirk Cousins. Because if you're willing to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, who is an unknown commodity, who does have skills, then you would definitely be willing to give up possibly a pick for a guy like Kirk Cousins, who has shown exactly who he is and what he can do. His arm strength isn't the greatest. It's above average. His accuracy is pretty solid. There were issues in college where he wasn't the captain as voted by his team. Or was that Connor Cook? I can't remember. It's one of the Michigan State quarterbacks. And I believe it might have been Connor Cook, actually, now that I say that. But Kirk Cousins is a good dude, it seems. Still drives his old van from high school and college. And just a simple dude. He's going to be a guy who's going to be in the gym, who's going to want to lead your team and wants to be a winner on the football field. And he's passionate about it. As you can see from his, you like that kind of screaming fits that he throws after a game coming into the locker room as his team wins a big game. The guy is a winner. He's shown to be for the most part. And he's a leader. And that is the kind of guy you want in this Hugh Jackson type offense. And he's not that old yet. So he would be hitting the prime of his career if you brought him in. So if you're willing to give up anything for Garoppolo, you would definitely be willing to give up something for Kirk Cousins. Now, I think the Redskins will franchise Cousins because we know quarterbacks don't grow on trees. As I believe it was Stephen Thomas on Twitter posted last night, 7 billion people in the world, and there's maybe 15 quality franchise quarterbacks in the entire NFL. Think about that. It's not like when you say, go get the franchise guy, it's not that simple. A great point made by him. I believe I retweeted it. You can check that out at SomervilleCLE. If I didn't retweet it, I at least liked it, and I will retweet it tonight because that is an absolute true statement. When everyone says, oh, go get the franchise quarterback, go get the franchise quarterback, it's not as easy as it seems. And that's another reason why I don't believe Cousins will go, and another reason I don't believe that Tyrod Taylor will be let loose by the Bills. They have to keep him. Because while he isn't a top 15 quarterback, maybe a top 17, he's in that 16, 17, 18 range, he's still a lot better than the mess you'll have if you let him go. I mean, Cardale Jones, I loved Cardale Jones at Ohio State. Great kid, great arm, but he's still not ready to be an NFL starter. Maybe he's been working his ass off and he's learned the offense like the back of his hand, which would be pretty hard to do because they just brought in a new offense. But you can't just let go of a good guy to bring in a guy who might be good. You don't do that. It rarely works out that way. I mean, even Phillip Rivers, who sat behind Drew Brees, only got a shot really because Drew Brees hurt his arm. If Drew Brees doesn't hurt his shoulder, does he stay and Phillip Rivers goes in San Diego? It took a ton for a younger Steve Young to come in and an injury for him to beat out Montana finally and send Montana to Kansas City. And Garoppolo, who we're going to get to right now, Garoppolo isn't going to play right now because of how good Tom Brady is. And when Tom Brady was out due to his suspension, we saw a pretty good quarterback. However, Brady, who possibly played one of his best games ever at 39 years old in the Super Bowl 51, if he's going to stay for a few years, Garoppolo is a guy who's available. And you're not going to let Brady go right now just to bring in a guy who's possibly okay. That is why people who say, oh, well, if he doesn't think he's the quarterback of the future, Belichick's going to trade him. I don't think that matters right now to Belichick. For all we know, Belichick is only worried about winning over the next few years because once Brady retires, Belichick, who's 65 years old, maybe it's time for him to go. That's another way to look at it, where a lot of people are, well, if they want to get rid of him and you got a 39-year-old quarterback, he must not be that good. I don't think that means anything. They might be thinking, Brady's going to play 2 years, and we got to have this guy sitting on the bench for 2 years. He'll be 27 and an unknown commodity for us. Why not maximize what we can now, get maybe a first-round pick, a high second-round pick, and get a guy who can help us next season at another position, at another spot. Maybe you trade for 12. Maybe the Browns do give up 12 for Garoppolo, and the Patriots bring in Mike Williams or Corey Davis. That's a big deal for a team that tried to trade Jamie Collins before he came to the Browns for a compensatory third-rounder. They tried to trade him to Houston for DeAndre Hopkins. Now that we're talking wide receivers and moving on away from quarterbacks, let's talk about not only the franchise tag, but Terrelle Pryor. Terrelle Pryor, a guy who had 1,077 yards on 77 catches with 4 touchdowns for the Browns in his first year as a wide receiver full-time. Had a crazy stat, and I posted this on orangeandbrown365.com, the dog biscuit, what to do with Terrelle Pryor article, that according to Pro Football Focus, I saw 47% of his yardage came in 4 games. So what's that say about Pryor? It's hard to really tell who he is exactly. I think we have an idea of what he can be, but how much is he worth right now in a long-term contract, in a 4 to 5 year deal? You sign him at $11 million per, or do you try to give him 1 year, $15.49 million, which is the franchise tag for a wide receiver, and let him see if he can do it in back-to-back years? And if he doesn't, you can cut him loose with zero money owed, rather than, hey, this guy didn't live up to a 5-year, $55 million contract. I mean, the contracts that wide receivers are signing right now, he's not going to get anything cheap. Marvin Jones last year, who was a number 2 receiver, at best, signed a 5-year, $40 million deal. I believe $20 million of that's guaranteed. Or at least 13. I think it might be 14 to 17, actually, now that I think about it. Check it back out on Spot Track, and I'll tweet it out later. Wide receivers, it's hard to exactly value what Terrelle Pryor is. So while some people think it's a nuclear option, like Daryl Ryder, who covers the Browns for 92.3 The Fan, and he may say it's a nuclear option if the Browns decide to franchise Pryor, I don't necessarily think it is. I think it may be the smartest way to go, because you've got the money, you're putting a lot out 1 year, 15.49, but you're giving him a chance to show who he really is. Whether he goes up, whether he goes down, whether he plateaus, and this is just what he is, you'll know. And then going forward in his contract talks, you can sign him to a cap-friendly deal or some deal that really says, okay, back-to-back years, you proved me right, you proved us wrong, you showed us what you are, then cool. Then you make that deal. So I don't believe that the franchise tag would be terrible in the franchise tag for Terrelle Pryor's case. Browns have a bunch of free agents, though, that they probably will bring back. Stephen Paya could probably be brought back. His depth on the defensive line. He could play inside rather than an outside end. Isaiah Crowell is still out there. What they'll do with Crowell is anybody's guess. I don't think they're going to overpay for him at all. And Pryor, of course, is the most important after signing Jamie Collins. Browns have a lot of work to do, and we're going to find out over the next, 25 days or so exactly what's going to go on. And it is my belief that come March 11th, Robert Griffin III will no longer be on the roster, which means the Browns will either have Cody Kessler going in as your starter next year and a young guy on the bench, or a veteran with Cody Kessler and a young guy. Their options are unlimited when it comes to the quarterback spot. I want to thank you all for listening today. Got about a minute before the show ends. Do about 15 minutes a day here. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, 2:45 to 3, here on Orange and Brown 365. That'll be episode 9. Check out orangeandbrown365.com for more Browns information and some of my articles. Love to get your feedback. Hit me up on Twitter at SomervilleCLE. That's SOMERVILLECLE. You want to text this show, go ahead at 440-537-5647. If you're ever on the Spreaker app and you want to chat, hit up the chat button. I'll gladly talk to you. I'd love to get the feedback. Or hit me up on email at OAB365.com. OAB365 @gmail.com. Thank you all for listening. As always, I am your host, Jeremy Somerville, the self-proclaimed Seatown sports guru. This is Orange and Brown 365 here, live on Spreaker. Remember, as always, if you love the life you live, you'll love the life you live. You'll live the life you love. I screwed that up. Remember, as always, if you live the life you love, you'll love the life you live. All right, good night, kids. Thanks for listening.